My best friend grabbed my hand during severe turbulence. If we don't make it, I love you. The first time she told me she loved me, we were 35,000 feet above the Atlantic, and the plane was falling. At least, that's what it felt like. The lights flickered, oxygen masks rattled above our heads, but didn't drop. Coffee splashed across the aisle. Someone screamed behind us. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it might burst before the airplane ever hit the ocean. Then Emma grabbed my hand with both of hers. Her fingers were ice cold. She looked straight into my eyes, tears already rolling down her cheeks, and whispered, "If we don't make it, I love you." For a second the entire world went silent, not because the turbulence stopped, because everything I thought I knew about us suddenly changed. Emma had been my best friend for almost 11 years. We met during our first week of college after accidentally reaching for the same terrible cup of cafeteria coffee. She laughed, told me I could have it because it looked like motor oil anyway, and somehow we spent the next 3 hours talking outside the student center. Since then, she'd been there for every important moment of my life. She celebrated when I got my first real job. She stayed with me after my father passed away because she knew I hated sleeping in an empty apartment. She forced me outside after my worst breakup, dragging me to hiking trails and late-night diners until I remembered how to smile. Everyone always assumed we were dating. We never were. Life had strange timing. Whenever I was finally ready to tell her how I felt, she had someone else. Whenever she was suddenly single, I convinced myself I'd waited too long. Years slipped by. Our friendship became the safest thing either of us had. Maybe that was why neither of us dared to risk it. Then came the invitation that changed everything. Emma's younger sister, Sophie, was getting married in Ireland. Emma begged me to come because she didn't want to spend 10 days with her huge family alone. "They're wonderful," she warned me over coffee. "They're also loud enough to qualify as a natural disaster. So you need emotional support?" "I need someone who can distract my uncles before they ask why I'm still single." I laughed. "I'll take the mission." She smiled. "You always do." 2 months later we were sitting side by side on Flight 218, somewhere over the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The trip had been perfect until then. We watched movies neither of us finished, argued over crossword puzzle answers, shared snacks, teased each other about sleeping positions. Everything felt familiar, comfortable, safe. Then the captain's voice interrupted. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting a period of moderate turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." Nobody seemed worried. Neither was I. The first few bumps were nothing unusual. The woman across the aisle kept reading her novel. A little boy laughed every time the plane bounced. Emma rolled her eyes. I swear turbulence is just nature's way of reminding us we're not in control. 5 seconds later, the airplane dropped so violently that my stomach felt like it stayed 10 feet above my body. Gasps filled the cabin. The overhead bins shook. The engines roared louder. Then came another drop. This one was worse. People screamed. Flight attendants rushed into the nearest jump seats. The seatbelt sign flashed brighter than before. I looked toward Emma. She wasn't pretending to be calm anymore. She hated flying. Not because she'd ever told anyone, because I'd noticed years earlier that she squeezed the armrest during every takeoff. I quietly reached for her hand. Before I could, she grabbed mine. Her grip tightened with every violent shake. The airplane lurched sideways. Someone started praying out loud. A baby cried somewhere behind us. Another announcement came from the cockpit, but static swallowed half the words. Emma's breathing became fast and uneven. "Hey," I said softly. She shook her head. "Don't think." "You don't think what?" "I don't think we're okay. We're going to be okay." "You don't know that." She wasn't wrong. Neither of us knew. The aircraft suddenly dropped again. Several screams echoed through the cabin. A suitcase burst from an overhead compartment farther back, crashing into the aisle. Everything felt completely out of control. Emma turned toward me. Her eyes were red. Fear stripped away every wall she'd built over the years. "If we don't make it," she whispered. I squeezed her hand. "Don't. I have to." Another violent jolt interrupted her. She took one shaky breath. "I love you." The words landed harder than the turbulence. For years I'd imagined hearing them, late at night, walking through parks, watching sunsets. Never here. Never while wondering whether we had another minute left to live. I stared at her. She looked almost embarrassed. "I know," she said through tears. Worst possible timing. Despite everything happening around us, I actually laughed. A broken, nervous laugh. "You picked a dramatic moment." "I've always been dramatic." "That's true. I should have told you years ago." I swallowed hard. "So should I." She blinked. "What?" "I love you too." For a heartbeat, nothing else mattered. Not the screaming, not the shaking cabin, not the uncertainty. Just her. She closed her eyes and rested her forehead against my shoulder. "I really thought I'd lost my chance." "You never did." The turbulence continued for several terrifying minutes that felt like hours. Every second stretched forever. Finally, the violent shaking slowly eased. The engine settled into a steady hum. People cautiously lifted their heads. The captain returned. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've safely passed through an area of severe turbulence. I know that was frightening. The aircraft is completely safe and will continue toward Dublin." Applause erupted throughout the cabin. Some people cried openly. Others hugged strangers. Emma didn't let go of my hand. Neither did I. She looked at me with an awkward smile. "LP, : So? That's slightly embarrassing. I just confessed my love because I thought we were dying." "You did." "That's slightly embarrassing. A little." "A little." She groaned and covered her face. "I can't believe this." I gently pulled her hands away. "Don't." "What?" "Look at me." She did. I meant every word, and damn it, I said. So did I. Her smile grew, slow and genuine, brighter than I'd seen in years. For the first time, we weren't hiding behind jokes or perfect timing. We were simply honest. Neither of us knew then that surviving the flight wasn't the hardest part. Because when we finally landed in Ireland, someone was waiting at the airport with news that would test our love far more than turbulence ever could. And before that week was over, we'd have to decide whether a friendship that lasted 11 years could survive becoming something even more precious. Period.